the recording, Stephen.
This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, Haslett, Texas, and ladies and gentlemen in the chamber, council, good evening. I call to order the Haslett City Council, July 18th, 2022. There is a quorum present, and we have Council Member Morrow on a video conference. We have video and audible, and Councilmember Horick is absent. Item 2, if you'd bow your head with me, we'll give the invocation and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Blessed Father, thank you for all the many blessings that you've given us. We thank you for your wisdom, your guidance. We enjoy all these things. We just pray that we be in your service. In Jesus' holy name, amen. If you stand with me for the pledge. Item 3, citizen participation and comments. I do have one requester to speak. You choose to, Ms. Hilborn, you choose to speak at these items. Very good. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to come and address the council on any matter, posted or not? Is anybody online, Stephen? No one online. There's no one in the chambers nor online, so we will move on to item number 4. Items of community interest. 4A, the Haslett Public Library will be closed July 28th and 29th, 2022 to allow staff to shift from the new integrated library system. The library will reopen Saturday, July 30 at 9 a.m. And this system that's being spoke of is in coordination with other libraries. It's a, what would we call it, a network, library type network. And we went to a new system upon Barbara's recommendation. Ms. Hilborn, you might know more about it. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? Just be more, you know, you know more about it probably than I do.
Not much. I do know that we've been a part of an interlocal agreement for several years, and this is going to up our game. It's going to give us more resources for our library patrons, a bigger group with bigger libraries. So what happens if you want a book that we don't have, we can get it for you. It also gives you the ability to go to those libraries too. It's a great system, and it's really a smart thing that Barbara's done in looking for a better system. She's always doing that. We've got a great gal there. If you're listening, Barbara.
Very good. Thank you. I'd like to make note that Councilmember Horick is in the chambers now. He is present. Item 5, administrative reports. Council, you have your administrative reports. Is there any report you have question on or would like to pull, or any comments? It appears not. So then we will move on to items. Who? Oh, 5A. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Ms. Hilborn.
I'm Patricia Hilborn, 2207 Virginia Lane. And really, I was just asking if the council can ask for clarification from the Sheriff's Department. In looking at the citations that have been issued in 2022 compared to 2021, they drop dramatically. And either we've all become angelic drivers, or perhaps there's an absolute reasonable explanation. But for instance, in June, last year there were 123 citations issued. This June, 14. And it's not just summer months. You can go back to last October, 69 versus 11. So perhaps the Sheriff's Department could just let us know what's going on.
I'm going to take the opportunity to address that right now. And we've addressed that, for over a year with the Sheriff's Department. The issue is if you recall, I'll give a comparison. 20-something years ago, 20 years ago, we first hired the Sheriff's Department. All they did was write tickets. That's all they did. And we've had this increase in population and throughput from the area building up around us, etc. Most of their time is spent on calls, whether it's violence at a warehouse or commercial facility or domestic or traffic accidents, DWIs, drugs, threats, etc. It's all here in Haslett, Texas now. And one call, such as a DWI, we have 2 officers 24/7, takes one officer out over 6 hours to make that booking and jail them. So you will see in the new proposed budget the addition of 2 more officers that focus on traffic.
Well, let me explain that I'm not complaining.
Oh, I understand.
And I'm not accusing, it just
But it
was a curious thing to me.
I'm glad you brought it up because everybody notices it and goes, where are they? Yes, they do. They do. Very good question, good observation, and we've been working on it for quite a while, and I had to come to an understanding of why. There is another aspect to it. Aside from running stop signs or not stopping on red before you take a right, etc., speeding is kind of almost during certain times of day, there's no opportunity to speed. So that is the short answer, but it is being addressed.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Good question.
And I'm glad I'm not the only person.
All right, then. There are no other, no one else to speak on any of these. We'll go to item 6, updates on active items, projects, and event recaps. Public Works Equipment. Mr. Tucker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We had a quick update. We finally received one of our larger mowers that we had ordered, I believe about 4 or 5 months ago. Stephen has a couple pictures here. Can we show the machine first, Stephen, if possible? There we go. So the piece on the back, the tractor, it's kind of a subcompact tractor, and it has the ability to connect several attachments. We purchased 3. What's on there now is a 95-inch cut large format mower. So we're hoping this is going to cut down some cutting of the larger areas, along the sidewalks into the park or the big open areas there. And we're really thinking this is going to help. The picture he's put up beside it, that's a edger attachment. And so along with that tap trail, one of the biggest hurdles is trying to edge that entire length that starts from Quick Country and ends on the loop inside the park. That's a very long way to have a guy walk with an edger blade. And then the last is a sweeper, which will allow us to help maintain that sidewalk. There's lots of driveway crossings that still have gravel, and this would allow one person to quickly move between these 3 attachments to maintenance that entire area. The goal is to keep that, much nicer than we can currently do it with the current equipment. I have a short video that shows how the edger attachment works. I think that's one of the, they're all useful, but this one I think we're going to be able to really see the benefit from. Go ahead and hit play, Stephen. So if you look, it's basically putting a a disc in between the sidewalk. It cuts that really nice edge path, and then there's an actual blower on it that's blowing that off. And then if you can show the kind of before and after on that other one.
It's very
So
nice.
That's what we're typically seeing, and that's, you know, the length of that entire sidewalk. And there should be one more, Stephen. Okay, well, you'll just have to trust me that the after looks way nicer. So, but on the behalf of the Parks Department, we do appreciate this type of purchase, and it really does give us the tools to make that look way nicer. It's just not feasible for somebody to walk those links and really keep up with it, and this tool here will absolutely do it. So we're hoping to really see, like I said, we've just took possession of it last week, and we're hoping to see over the next few weeks to see how it integrates, and hopefully we can give you maybe a before and after of the whole project. So
Very
that's
good.
the update I have. Thank you.
Very good. 6B, Haslett Parkway construction rights of way. Well, I am happy to announce that at 6:29 this evening, I received the agreement between the Gateway attorneys and our Haslett attorneys on this. I've not yet had the opportunity to read the agreement, but I've been involved in the content along the way, and that should draw a close to this topic, and that will be the end of all our rights of way. This will be a good thing. Councilmember Morrow, I know you're particularly interested. You got any questions on it? Oh, okay. Please note that Councilmember Morrow is not part of the meeting. When she comes back on, both audio and video will count her present. 6C, community park projects. There's nothing here to report. No changes. Item 7 is the consent agenda. We have 7A is approval of June 29, 2022 special council meeting. 7B, approval of July 5th, 2022 regular council meeting minutes. 7C, approval of July 7th, 2022 special council meeting minutes. And 7D is the ratification of the Haslett Community and Economic Development Corporation Type B action adoption MyTie, located at 2001 Highway 156 North, as an economic development project eligible for funding. Let me make a clarification here. That is, I'll say some economic development lingo, but the intent here is not funding anything on MyTie. It is all about selling the building to the restaurant called MyTie. With regard to the consent agenda, does council have anything they would like further clarification on, or any comments, or would you like to pull an item specifically? If I could have a motion then.
Mayor Halsey, I move to accept the consent agenda as written.
Motion is made to accept the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I second.
There is a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That's 4. Any opposed? None opposed. That's 4-0, making note that Council Member Morrow is not present. Item 8 is public hearing, ordinances, resolutions, and action items. 8A is discuss, consider, and act regarding authorizing the mayor to execute the TxDOT third-party funding notification 0902904141 TPFN relating to the early opening of the Haslett Parkway L roadway, authorizing the mayor to execute developer agreements between Haslett and developers contributing funds to the project, and authorizing the mayor to execute the release of City of Haslett funds from existing unencumbered project funds currently held by TxDOT. So, good. Let's start with this. So this item is all about the L, and the L is from I-35, Haslett Parkway, I-35 to Intermodal, and from Intermodal all the way up to Transport Drive, which completes the Intermodal section. And this is a project we've been working on probably since March. The motivation is it appeared that we could open this up and get immediate benefit and not wait another 2 years for the entire project to be completed before any traffic was to be allowed. This is an important piece. It'll be primarily to service the logistics industry, the semi-trucks, and workers that go to these warehouses. We started out with taking this idea to developers in the immediate area, and there was significant interest in that. So I had their interest in it and their willingness and contributions of $1 million between the two of them. Then I went to North Central Texas Council of Governments in Tarrant County and presented this idea to them. They thought it was a great project too. Anytime that we could open up a roadway piece like this for the public and benefit the public as well, the general public as well as industry, it's always a good idea. This is known as the Haslett Parkway acceleration of the L, and they call it the L because it looks like an L. Anyway, in your package, we have or in the letters that are just printed or handed out to you, one is from Tarrant County Precinct 3, Commissioner Gary Fickus, who has pledged $568,000 towards this project. You have a second one that came in this evening from North Central Texas Council of Governments and the Regional Transportation Council for TxDOT. They have pledged $568,000 for this project. Now, the project, to accelerate this project, is a cost of $2.5 million. Also, we have two developers, which I don't have the agreements in place right now. I've been waiting on the change order from TxDOT, which they have already issued, and they are out there constructing this roadway right now. TxDOT they've been part of the entire agreement, so there's 5 entities involved in this, and it was on their words that TxDOT said, we'll go ahead and execute the change order and get it going. And so that would be for a March 31st opening. That's 8 months or less. Now, Haslett does have small cost in this, and it is approximately $374,000, I believe, and some change. Okay, and where will those funds come from? Well, right now, okay, Haslett has put in a total of $13 million towards this project. Some of it in the way of TIRZ, tax increment refinance zone or reinvestment zone, others, about half of it, and the other half is actual cash. TxDOT went through and did it, has been, they keep the books and has performed an accounting, and they project that we will realize about $1.5 million in savings on this project. So they're progressing very well. So it is out of that funds that they already hold, that's Haslett's, where this $374,000 will come from. So there's no additional cost to Haslett, Texas. In fact, we'll most likely receive, after paying this, we'll receive more than $1 million back according to their accounting. So one aspect of this is to execute the developer agreements between Haslett and the developer. There's 2 developers out there that have pledged $500,000 each. And the agreements, part of the agreements I needed to include the change order that was issued by TxDOT to be part of the agreement, so the developer knows I can point to, Exhibit A is the change order. This has taken place already, and this is what you're contributing to. And we've gone through all other aspects of the agreement other than acquiring this change order, and which was recently acquired late last week. And tomorrow I'll be busy on incorporating that and getting the development agreements in front of the developers for their contributions as well. Haslett, there are 3 entities that have accounts set up with TxDOT for this project: North Central Texas Council of Governments, Tarrant County, and Haslett. We did not have to execute a new contract or project to have this occur. What we were able to do, and this was very much working closely with TxDOT, they came up with the idea, well, we'll just use your existing accounts. So North Central Texas Council of Governments, you fund your pledge, your portion, through this existing account. Tarrant County, you fund your pledge of the contribution to this your existing account. And City of Haslett, you collect the funds from the developers and forward that to TxDOT to your existing account. So that is the agreement, is that I'm asking your approval on, is to execute that agreement, and is nothing more that we are collecting and sending it forward to TxDOT. And then also the third part is to go ahead and authorize the release. Not that they will release it right now, but when they call for the funding, is to be able to release that $374,000 and change, and I'm able to say yes, it can go towards this project. So do you have any questions on what this item is about?
Yeah, I've got 2 questions. So the 2 developers we don't have an agreement in place with either one of them?
No, because I just got the change order document from TxDOT, and that is I'll say legal proof. Here is the project, Mr. Developer, that you are contributing to. So that's an attachment to that, which we have not been able to provide because I got it late last week.
But I mean, and they have agreed to the agreement, and there's no reason they would back out of this, correct?
Oh, no. In fact, I think in your package there was included an email. Pull that up. Where TxDOT regurgitated And I'll go ahead and read it. As part of our conversation, Mayor Halsey, as part of our conversation this afternoon, and this was dated May 24th. This is a summary of the quote given after our meeting. The quote will construct the acceleration of the L component of the project from I-35 to intermodal to be open to traffic March 31st. I summarized the funding below and updated the numbers highlighted. At this time, the execution will be moving forward with concurrence from all parties. We will move forward in executing the change order for execution. As for the funding, the City of Haslett will move forward with they called it ILAs, but it's developer agreements. For the 2 developer contributions, a third-party notification will be part of the change order. And that's one of the items of being requested. That's part of signing the documents that I'm asking for this evening, is the third-party notifications. That was the acronym used at the top of the TPFN. Part of the change order that will be signed by the City of Haslett. Funds will be collected for the $1 million contribution once the change order is executed and the ILAs are completed. They're talking about the developer agreements. The county contribution will be handled with an amendment to the AFA, which they're referring to their specific account on this project, which will update the fixed fund contribution to include the additional $568,000. The collection of funds will be after the amendment is executed. The contribution from North Central Texas Council of Governments will be done through a TIP modification due in July for November modification cycle. This will add the $568,000 of Category 7 STBG funds to the project. The remaining $374,000 will be addressed with the, note the language, unencumbered original funding contribution. They already hold this money, and it's unencumbered. Please let me know if there are any additional information needed as we move forward with the acceleration.
Mayor Halsey, I do have one question. On that 374, I do see that, and I'm glad to see that unencumbered being mentioned in this email, but is there going to be advanced funding of 374? And if so, where does that come from before?
No.
No advanced funding. Okay.
There is no advanced funding. They have the money.
Okay.
They have $1.5 million they expect to save on this, which belongs to Haslett. So no, they have the money in hand. So there is no advanced funding, to answer your question. Any other questions?
Just one, Mayor Halsey. One other question, because this has been advanced, will it also push the other portion of it a little bit earlier than what's scheduled?
No, there is the estimated completion of the entire project right now. Originally, it was November 2024. I believe it is July 2024 is the estimated completion of it. And you know, if they have motivations to finish early, and but they're working very diligently. And it might be possible that this does assist in an earlier completion, but they haven't seen that yet particularly. They have had to do some reorientation of allocation of resources to make this happen. And, you know, I have to thank Zachary and Hillwood was instrumental in this, other developer, and North Central Texas Council of Governments, and particularly Commissioner Fickus. This is really what these public-private partnerships are about. So I'm excited about it, and I ask your permission to sign these documents and move forward with this.
Mayor Halsey, I did wish to asked to speak.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I just wanted to finish my presentation.
And I appreciate that. I was afraid you might go to a vote, though, before I had an opportunity. So I'm Patricia Hilborn, 2207 Virginia Lane. Obviously, I believe in this project very much. I think Haslett Parkway is going to be a great thing for the future generations for our city, well beyond the incredible regional promise it's going to fulfill for this area. So anything that we can do that will help this project along, I'm in favor of. I like the idea of being able to open up even part of it early to maybe get the trucks used to using that route. Obviously, when the entire east-west thing opens, that's when our residents will feel the ability to get to 35 quickly, which right now we have no direct route, right, except Westport Parkway to get over there. So I'm in favor of that. I also want to agree with the mayor that this shows how important our regional connections are, our regional, the way we work with other entities in the area, with the North Central Texas Council of Governments, with the Regional Transportation Council, with TxDOT, with the county. God bless Gary Fickus. He's been a great help to our city. So every time when these kinds of projects come up, I really am grateful that we have good relationships with these other groups. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, then. Council.
Mayor, I have one statement to read for this.
Please go ahead.
This is John Wirtz at 205 Thistle Drive. The mayor should have authority to sign documents for TxDOT work on the Haslett Parkway extension to Intermodal Parkway. As Haslett's authority and power, the mayor can draw on the expertise of city staff and the desires of the city council to include citizen input to get the job done as painlessly as possible.
Thank you very much. All right, council. Time for your discussion, consideration, and action.
I just have one comment if possible, and that's just to maintain this as an agenda item throughout so we can actually see how it's progressing with the different agreements.
To have an update. is
Have
what
an
you're
update,
at.
yes.
Updates. Absolutely. And in fact, I fully expect that the next council meeting, I can report all items have been executed and would have copies for you. Ms. Montgomery, please make a note of what I promised.
There's no further, Mayor Holsey. I move to authorize you to execute the TxDOT third-party funding notification 0902901441_TPFN related to the early opening of Haslett Parkway L roadway, authorizing the mayor to execute developer agreements between Haslett and the developers contributing funds to the project, and authorizing the mayor to execute the release of city Haslett funds from existing unencumbered project funds currently held by TxDOT.
Motion is made to approve item 8A. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I second.
There is a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. There's not any opposed. There are none opposed. Please note that Councilmember Morrow is not joined. Motion passes. Thank you, Council. Thank you very much. 8B, discuss, consider, and act on an agreement between Tarrant County Emergency Services District Number 1 and City of Haslett for American Rescue Plan Act, state and local recovery funds. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It should be a pretty straightforward agreement. The county received their ARPA funding. They pushed an allotted amount down to the Emergency Service District that we contract with, and then they have pushed the money down to the different departments. $30,000 is the maximum amount we can spend on personal protective equipment like bunker gear, our SCBA, our breathing air packs. So It's a July to July calendar. It is a multi-year thing, so it looks like it'll be for 5 years, possibly a 6, depending on how the money's spent, is what the fire marshal said. So this is a great thing for us, and to be able to purchase more protective equipment. One of the things that we try to do is get to 2 sets of gear per person. That way, when they have a fire, they can go back and wash the bad stuff out of it, and they have another set to get into. So this just helps in our whole process of outfitting our firefighters.
Anybody have any questions for Chief Mays? I want to give big thank you to Chief Mays, and I'll say Garrett Kemp as well. They stay on top of this stuff. And on top of it, Garrett Kemp is a volunteer firefighter, but he's a valuable asset, isn't he? Very good. Any questions about this, council? If there's no discussion, we could entertain a motion.
Mayor Holsey?
I heard Councilmember Ricketts.
Okay, Mayor Holsey, I move to approve the agreement between the Tarrant County Emergency Service District Number 1 and the City of Hazlet for American Rescue Plan Act state and local recovery funds.
A motion is made to approve item 8B. Is there a second?
I second.
There is a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8C. Discuss, consider, and act on an ordinance repealing ordinance numbers 0102-02, 0902-03, and 012-2012, eliminating the office and job duties of the city administrator and invoking the state of Texas statutory prescribed powers and duties of the office of mayor of a type A general law automatic form of government as cited in the local government code. So, council, I bring this to you. This particular position was circumventing our form of government. This particular position, there have been 4 occurrences since 2002 when it was implemented. There's been 4 administrators. The first 2 combined served 3 years. They didn't last long. Then there was a 4-year gap, maybe a 7 or 8 year gap. They were brought back. This was another administrator was brought in around 2012 timeframe. That was a short stay, and then the most recent one that has since departed was here for about 7 years. These were not pleasant relationships, not particularly by me, but some of these, most all of them were rather toxic. It just did not fit our form of government. And anyway, for many different reasons, I put this forward to you. I could go on and on about this, but I will keep that short. We do have Ms. Hilborn would like to speak on this topic. Ms. Hilborn, would you come up, please?
Felt a little bit like getting called to the principal's office. I'm Patricia Hilborn, 2207 Virginia Lane. So I would just like the council to postpone a decision on this item until you have yourselves been able to research what this would mean for our city. And what I want you to consider is that for the last decade, the city has prospered under the leadership of a professional municipal leader, someone who has the training to run a city in the day-to-day work, someone that the department heads reported to, and then that person reported to the elected officials. I'm not praising any particular person, nor am I going to denigrate the service that they gave. But all you have to do is look at the things that have happened in this city in the last decade to 10 to 15 years to see what an impact having a professional makes. We like to think of ourselves as a little country town that don't need nothing but a volunteer mayor. But look at what we really are. We are a powerful little municipality making its way, surrounded by the 12th largest city in the country, and we're doing pretty good alongside them. Now, all you have to do is look at our cash and investment report that our treasurer, as the mayor likes to call her, or you can call her finance director, has put together, and see $33 million, of which about $1 million of that is PID funds, which is just money the city's holding to pay against the money that the developer paid. That's not our money to hold, to keep. It's not a tax. It's for a collection agency. And I'd like you just to consider how important it is to have a professional leader of our staff. And maybe Mr. Holsey didn't like the choices, and maybe I didn't like the choices, but my personal choice doesn't really matter. What matters is how our city prospers, not just financially. I know you have a problem with me saying financially, but financial strength gives us the ability to do things in our city for our residents, fix roads, add things to our park, just attract the kinds of businesses that we want here, gives us the power to control what our city looks like as far as like the parks, the great advancements in our parks that have taken place and just recently. And I think that if you'll look closely at how the city has prospered during that time, you can see it is due to the way we have upped our personnel. We've increased our expertise in this little town. So if you whether you eliminate this post or not, the way the city's being run right now is not going to change. Right, Mayor Halsey?
Please finish your comments.
You're running the city the way you feel is best, and I'm not here to question that. I'm just questioning, should we totally upend the way we've been running our city without y'all thoroughly researching this yourselves? And Mr. Nahara and Mr. Ricketts, you've been on the council a year, so you have already gotten a taste of how long it takes to make things happen, to be successful, how much work it takes, and how much team cooperation it takes, and the level of professionalism that we need. And we're not a little podunk town with one gas station anymore. We're a powerful little municipality, and we need professional leadership. The right one. That may be difficult to find. I'm not going to argue that point. But that's something we do. And so all I'm asking is that you don't have to decide anything tonight. You can do some research. You can talk to the financial director. Don't take my word for it. It's in your packet. See the different projects that have taken place. See what the leadership has done. See what having someone here on staff, a paid professional, does, rather than just continually, frankly, relying on consultants who aren't really as invested in our city as I would like to see them. So please consider that. Not making a decision tonight is not going to change anything. It's not going to harm anything. It's going to give you more time to research it. Thank you. And actually, there wasn't a question in that, so you do not have to respond to me. Don't feel like you have to.
Oh, I know I don't. Thank you. Is any other comments?
I have 13 that basically say that they're all in favor of removing the city administrator position. Did you want me to read them individually? Ron and Sandra Tharp. My wife and I would like to express our preference for the organization of the City of Haslett City Council. We feel strongly that the mayor should run the city. The insertion of a city administrator in the process of running our city has only caused delay and additional cost. We would appreciate your consideration of this proposal. James Loudermilk, 300 Arbor Lane, Haslett, Texas. I want to express my support for Mayor Gary Holsey in his attempt to eliminate the office of the city administrator. As a resident of Haslett, I helped elect Mayor Holsey and I support his vision of Haslett. Kara Navonti, 301 Ashmore Place. I want to express my support for Mayor Gary Holsey in an attempt to eliminate the office of city administrator. As a resident of Haslett, I helped elect Mayor Holsey and I support his vision of Haslett. Lori Phillips. I want to express my support for Mayor Gary Holsey in his attempt to eliminate the office of city administrator. I am in favor of eliminating the sitter position altogether. And she's at 2104 White Lane, Haslett. Kathy Brandon, 213 Bain Road. Dear council members, I'm asking you to vote in favor of this agenda item because our city should restore the position of mayor to be a strong and responsible position. The position has been downplayed and changed per the various ordinance in recent years to a weak and mostly ceremonial role. Our city is small and therefore is no need for a city administrator. The role of mayor in Haslett should be strong and responsible for administrative and legislative tasks and one of the voices of the people that the position serves. Citizens elected a mayor to work hand in hand with the council. Citizens elected a mayor to be the presiding officer and lead council meetings and set agendas. Citizens elected a mayor to serve us and the community first and lead the city without favor. Citizens did not elect a mayor for a ceremonial role. Our city needs a strong mayor. The term is not a judgment of effectiveness. It distinguishes the level of political power and administrative authority that should be assigned to the position of mayor. The mayor should lead and oversee the daily operations of the city. The position of mayor should be chief executive officer of the city. The mayor should have authority to direct the administrative structure, appointing and removing department heads. In a city of this size, a city administrator is not needed. The position of the mayor needs to be returned to that of a strong leader and yet a servant of the citizens. John Wirtz, 205 Thistle, Haslett, Texas. I am in favor of eliminating the office of city administrator. The job title is not defined in Texas local government code. The code allows for a mayor or a city manager to be in charge of a city, but to change the mayor-led to city manager-led administration requires a vote by the citizens. No vote has taken place on this issue. Haslett government is now and has been all along a city with a mayor-led administration. Jeff and Amy Toon at 301 Bent Tree Lane, Haslett, Texas. I am in support of the item on tonight's city council agenda to eliminate the office of city administrator. Joseph Tower, 201 Odesso Drive. I am in favor of eliminating the position of city administrator/manager. The responsibilities and decisions of this position should be made by the elected mayor of Haslett. It seems redundant at this time to have an extra step in carrying out what was voted on by the council. Tony Marlowe, 1412 Poppy Drive. I think this position should be eliminated. We don't need a mayor, city administrator, and city council. All towns will have a city council and a mayor, so that leaves city administrator out. Joette King, 1410 Poppy Drive. One of the major points of concern in the 2021 election was the leadership of the city. Under the city administrator, the responsibility of leading the city was not correctly placed with the mayor, nor did that model, which was added under the previous administration and council, comply with Texas government law for our type of municipality as outlined in the agenda item text. As a result of overwhelming citizen concern, our current Mayor Holsey won the office and has worked diligently to bring change and correct executive leadership to the city. I strongly support and urge the council to eliminate the city administrator role from Haslet's ordinances. Serge Richard, 201 Cactus Drive, Haslet. I would like to voice my support for Mayor Gary Holsey. I moved into this community a couple of years ago and fully agree with the direction he is taking the city. We do not need a city administrator. Patricia Parker, 219 Broadmoor Drive, Haslet. The citizens of Haslet voted for Mayor Gary Holsey to run our city, and he has done a fantastic job of doing this. Please do not vote for a city administrator to take this away from him or the citizens. That is it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, council, I think that we're at part 2 here. Discussion, consideration, and action.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I just want to make a comment that, I have done my research, and a type A type of government does exactly what all these folks just are in favor of, to give the mayor the power and not have a city administrator. And he's done a very good job. As you can see, he's taken all these functions that a city administrator was doing and gone beyond that, and uncovered a lot of things that the city didn't do correctly. The money's good, the funds that are coming in are great, but it's not the only thing that the citizens care about. So I'm all in favor of this, of doing away with this city administrator position.
Mayor Holsey, I tend to agree. I listen to you, Ms. Hilborn. I do appreciate the professional services. I think there's ways that we can actually handle with the city and give the mayor the assistance that he probably needs. Again, looking at local government code, I've done the research too, and that's, again, another reason why I believe Hector and myself, it was a very big election that year. I am in support of removing the city administrator in the way that it is shown.
Mayor Halsey, I want to make a few comments also. I too have investigated all of this. I've looked at other cities and how they're run with city administrators and compared our city with those cities in the state of Texas. And I've been researching that for several months now, probably 3 or 4 months. And I agree with eliminating the city administrator. We do have a municipality type A where the mayor is chief executive officer. And I will comment, Ms. Hilburn, well, I appreciate your comments and we should investigate it. I have witnessed the staff and the mayor working hand in hand, and it works beautifully. And I will comment that you said, you want someone that's invested in the city when you suggested having a city administrator. Well, that is one of the reasons I am voting against having a city administrator, because they're not invested in the city. The mayor is invested in the city. And I have seen his investment. He has spent countless hours. And because of his leadership, some of these things that we need in the city have taken place. And so I support this.
Was that some sign language, Ms. Hilborn? What was that? What was your little action right there? Well, if I was supposed to interpret something, I failed to interpret it. All right, then, if there's any more discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor Holsey,
Yes.
I move to approve the repealing of ordinance number 0102-02, 0902-03, and 012-2012, eliminating the office and job duties of the city administrator and invoking the state of Texas statutory prescribed powers and duties of the office of mayor of a type A general law aldermanic form of government as cited in the local government code.
The motion is made to approve item 8C. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I second.
There is a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? There's none opposed. Motion passes, and thank you very much. on behalf of myself and the city of Haslett. Thank you. Item 8D, discuss regarding the position of Economic Development Director. And we had, okay. Well, I was supposed to fill that out, but there's not much to fill out. What I wanted to present to you is that we had this position of Economic Development Director, and the former employee, he did resign to go to greener pastures. I tried to tell him the grass is brown on both sides, but he went anyway. Nonetheless, I missed, we missed that. He was just a really nice guy. But the fact is, the 6.5 years, 7 years that he was here, he never worked as a city or as a economic development director. He told me that. He says, I've never been an economic development director. And he says, I've always been, he says, my primary job was being the project manager on Haslett Parkway from the very beginning. That was his job. An economic development director is, would be, I'm thinking if we needed a full-time position of that, is that we need to go out and beat the drum, come to Haslett. Well, the world knows our address, and I don't say that in tongue-in-cheek, I mean that literally. Because of where we are, what's on the north end of our town is this Alliance Airport and this Burlington Northern Santa Fe hub. And by evidence, we could probably mow down everybody's house and they would buy it all up in warehouse space. Everybody in the world wants to be here. So we're at a point now is that we are picking and choosing. We get lots of calls. We don't have to go beat a drum. And what I have come to realize is what we need is an economic development coordinator. That's what I'll be proposing here in the near future and by way of ordinance. Is an economic development coordinator. And in fact, I approached Mr. Morris Schwenke, the city's planner, if he'd be interested in this, because he's already taking those calls. People, when they call, they ask for the planner. And those two tasks work hand in hand. You need to have a very intimate knowledge of both our zoning and what potentially will go where and when, as well as does it complement our city. Mr. Schwenke has a very firm grasp on those items. And then he has a background of working. Now, has he worked very specifically as an economic development coordinator? Not specific to that role, but there is I'll say no particular criteria to fill that role other than the city, planning, I'll say in negotiating deals, what's in favor of the city. And Mr. Schwenke possesses that, but this is not about Mr. Schwenke. This is about the position of an economic development director, and this is purely a discussion item. That's my point. Is we don't need a full-time economic development director. We need someone on an as-needed basis. And I'll say this, I'll go back to that full-time economic development director. Why was he given the other job that occupied all this time? Because there was no activity for him. He went to these different meetings, these different venues and things of that nature with regard to marketing, etc. But the only thing that outside people had at that time was warehouses, warehouse after warehouse after warehouse. But we have said no to more warehouses. We have plenty of warehouses. What we want is other things, maybe corporate headquarters. Oh, Mr. Schwenke is speaking now to a company that wants to build their headquarters here in Haslett, Texas. Oh, and I just passed on a contact that we've been in conversation with. They want to build their major training facility for their corporation here in Haslett, Texas. And so these are the type of ventures, these are the businesses that we want. Not any more warehouses. We have plenty. Not that they're bad, but it's all on the north side. We don't need them lining our I-35, and we certainly don't need them lining Haslett Parkway. We have different intentions there, don't we? So that's, I'm going to leave it to you, but that's just my thoughts, my feelings about the topic. We don't need a full-time person. We need someone who's that's part-time. They will go to the meetings, be that interface between the city, and also being accompanied by our accounting team to present their budgets monthly, and also to receive those calls and meet with these people, and then in time when it's right is to bring in the mayor to meet with their executives. And that's how it's gone here recently, and it's worked out well. So that's but I'm listening to your ideas.
Mayor Halsey, I have a question. So this would be a part-time position, so it would be billed as the work is being done, or is
If it should happen to be Mr. Schwenke, it would be on the hourly basis, of which we already have contract with him now. It'd be no new contract. It'd be added duty.
And then the next question is for Mr. Schwenke. Have you ever filled this position before or played in this type of role?
Not specifically for economic development corporations. I've been working closely with them for years. The planning department and the economic development activity are almost one and the same. The first group of people that a business is going to contact is going to be the planning department. And so I've worked with them, and I move them on to the economic development if most of the time they're wanting something special, before they locate in the city. And that's what the economic development corporations have usually done. However, we've have limited funds, and so that's really not an activity. But as far as inviting and analyzing and encouraging certain types of uses, I've been doing that for years. Just not with a specific EDC type title.
One of I'll say a full-time economic development director would be offering incentives, different incentive programs. Well, given the fact, and we have to realize this, we have to realize who we are and where we are, is that the world knows our address. The world wants to be here if they move goods in and out of the United States. We don't offer incentives anymore. There's no need for it. And in fact, I don't think we tolerate any more incentives. We pay one of them right now over $500,000 a year, and that was not a good deal. But we are very attuned to not do a deal like that, or any of them that come in close to that. Thereby, we don't need to get into the incentive programs that can turn around and bite us, and which has happened in the past, and we still live with it now.
Just a quick comment. Most cities around the Metroplex would be very envious of your position that you're in. Businesses are wanting to come here. It's now time to pick and choose what benefits the citizens of the city, rather than just incentivizing a lot of different groups, but encouraging people that would make the city of Haslett a better place to live.
One of the things I'd asked Mr. Morris, one of the things that I'd want an economic development coordinator or director or whatever you want to call them that you'd have in your tool chest is that, so I got these two businesses over here, and, you know, one of the things we're interested in is tax revenue besides property tax. Sales tax revenues, we're interested in that. And our previous economic development director, I asked if they could do that, to assess a business to see the potential sales tax revenue. And the reply was, I did it once 16 years ago, but no, I can't now. I did ask Mr. Morris that topic, and yes, they have capabilities. Now, Mr. Morris works for Bureau Veritas, a large company, planning, and they have other resources as well. But that we can take advantage of that. And so they can, you know, and a business can be assessed in its potential sales tax revenue. And we can make choices based on that. And that's the position that we're in, and we have to recognize that. Anyway, that'd be part of, those are just, well, that's another capability I was looking at, you know, in what this type of position should bring.
Mayor Holsey, I do have one question for Mr. Schwanke. This really comes down to the aspect that just potentials. I know that everything would work out. I think everything, the only thing that I worry about is conflict of interest. And I just want to ask you a question. Over 6-7 years, have you ever had a conflict of interest between yourself and Thad?
With who? With the business?
Our former economic development coordinator.
No.
So that would be my biggest concern, is that there was a conflict of interest in there, and I don't see that. So that's why I just wanted to ask you.
No, I have no conflict of interest.
I think
With it.
maybe, or you may be describing, here's City A and here's Haslett. And, well, they won't touch a deal. Maybe you ought to go here to City A. Do you serve anybody around our immediate area?
I do not. You know, we you know, the company of Bureau Veritas serve over 240 cities in Texas, but I specifically do not. As the planner for my title is the Director of Planning and Development Services for Bureau Veritas, and I have no other cities probably within 50 or 60 miles of here. You know, I usually service small cities out in the boondocks. You know, earlier today I had a meeting in Honey Grove. I don't know if anybody knows where that is. That's east of Bonham. Well, there's no conflict there. You know, Haslett is a unique situation. Like the mayor mentioned, you have the airport up north, and you have the draw of Fort Worth to the south, and you got a major thoroughfare coming through town, you know, 35. And so there's a lot of things that Haslett has, and that most of the places I work do not. You know, one of the cities that I've been talking with earlier today is the city of Valente. I don't know if you know where that's at. It's a town of 600 just north of Austin. No conflict there. They have no business. They don't even have a convenience store. It's all residential. So there's definitely, and they don't want industry. So, and also I've been working a lot lately with the city of Abilene. Well, that's 3.5, 4 hours west of here. And so there's no conflict there. And so the answer to the question, I do not have any conflict with anybody in the near vicinity.
Any other comments on this? I mean, it's just a discussion, getting your thoughts and your ideas, any concerns you might have.
Yeah, Mayor, I've got one question. How would this position tie in with the EDC Type A and Type B board?
How does it tie in?
How
Well,
would it tie in?
they would, this position would attend their monthly meetings. In any project, they would oversee any project that they were taking on. They would be that conduit and that interface between the EDCs and the city itself. And, you know, the city itself, administration, supports the EDCs in most all things that they do, both legal and just administrative report, accounting, and things of that nature. So that would still carry on. I don't know if you're looking at funding or anything like that, the paying of that. I've got to go to the EDC, each one of them, and meet with them, and it'll be. I expect it'll be a resolution of sorts for them to agree to. I'm looking at proposing that the city pay a third. You know, there'd be three of the city, EDCA, EDCB, and each pay a third of the salary. Well, not salary, but the fee for the service. If there's not any more on that, then we'll close this discussion item out. Oh, Ms. Hillborn, apologize. Please come up.
Hello. Patricia Hillborn, 2207 Virginia Lane. Okay, so this is just a discussion item, so I hope you, again, will do some thinking about this. I'm not against this idea. I agree with a lot of the things that y'all talked about as far as how the city is situated. And I'm on the EDC, I'm on Type B. But I still think we ought to consider having an in-house person. Now, perhaps it's a combination of planning and EDC, if what Mr. Schwenke is suggesting is that it's possible to combine those roles in one individual. But again, whether he has a current conflict with another city or not, he is not able to devote his attention completely to Haslett, whereas someone who works for our city does, and has a dog in our race, has skin in our game, and nobody else's. So I would ask you to consider that, actually, and maybe Mr. Schwenke would be the person to do that. I don't know. That would be, y'all would have to decide that. But I really think that when we rely on consultants, we're just one of their clients. When we have folks who are here, then they become invested in us. And I'm not talking about personally invested the way you're talking about Mr. Halsey and his family, who I know are longtime Haslett residents and are very much invested in this town. But I'm talking about professionally invested. So I would ask you to consider that. Thank you.
Well, rarely do I would ever comment to that, but you said something that implied that our consultants are not invested. I will have you know that the consultants that we enjoy right now are. Just as a matter of fact, we're very fortunate to have them. They were all ran off at one time, but now they're back. And Haslett, we should be grateful for that. They provided great service, and they skin in the game. Yes, they got skin in the game. Anyway, so please accept my apology on that. All right, if there's nothing else, executive session, we have no need to go to executive session. Item 10, consider and take any action resulting from executive session. There is none. Future agenda items. Council, do you have any future agenda items? Okay.
Just the one that I already recognized of.
Yes, that we will keep current on the L and the documentation. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Any other? Okay. Item 12, adjourn. May I have a motion?
Mayor Halsey, I move to adjourn.
This motion is made to adjourn. Is there a second?
I second.
There is a second. All in favor? None opposed. There is motions to adjourn. It is 8:16 p.m. Thank you, council.
This
Very
conference
good.
is no longer being recorded.